Aloha, and thank you for joining us for another episode of Financial Planning with Hawaii Central Federal Credit Union. I'm Amber Millsap, Community Relations Officer at Central Federal Credit Union. And today we have with us Herb Hussey of Windward Financial. He is a partner there. And I just want to thank you for being with us today, Herb.
You're welcome.
And Herb's going to be talking a little bit about civil service retirement today.
Yeah.
Before we start, I'd like to ask Herb to tell us a little bit about himself. I know we have viewers joining us for the first time.
Started out as a child, long time ago. But on this topic, I think this is an interesting one, which is the retirement system for the state and county employees. So if we stand back and we look at the big picture, what we understand is this. There are about 50,000 people that work for the city and county and the state at any given time. So the state retirement system, or the ERS, encompasses the people that work for the state of Hawaii, Maui County, Oahu, Kauai, Big Island. All of those people are actually part of the same retirement system. All right. Even though their employer may be the Department of Education, Department of Defense, or the county, they're all part of the same system. The civil service employee is a very large segment of the state's population, particularly when you add in the fact that most of them are married. So this 50,000 figure is now quickly 100,000. When you add in their kids, they're at 200,000. So it's a very large segment of the state's population. They are the single largest employer. Okay. So it's a very large group of people. And because of that, their retirement system is important, because when you think back and you look at who these people are and what they are, the one stat I saw said that something like one out of 10 people in the state of Hawaii is connected to someone who works for the county or the city or the state. It makes a lot of sense. In my family growing up, my father was a labor law inspector from the 1940s to the 1970s. He worked for the city. He worked for the state. My mother is his beneficiary. My sister is retired DOE. Right. I was the only one in my family that didn't work for the state. Right. But a lot of families grow up in that. When you have someone who is a family has policemen or firemen, EMTs, they're all connected to the state system.
My family, same thing.
Same thing.
Mother's a teacher, father firefighter, and
Yes.
uncle firefighter. Plenty firefighters in our family, but
very important. A lot of good firefighters in the family.
Definitely.
So that's why, as a practitioner, my area of expertise, well, let me step back. My area of focus, I'm reluctant to say I have expertise. My area of focus has been on this population group and what their needs are. All right. What I will share with you today on the slideshow is actually a presentation that is done for United Public Workers, and it's about the retirement system and how it's structured. So this is our take on it. But there are many people that work with city and county and state employees, and they have different ways of presenting it. We do not represent the state, right? So this is not the definitive picture of how it works. This is just our interpretation of what this market needs and how it functions.
But you have been working with civil service employees
Since 1990.
for a long time.
Yes. 1990.
So you have a good understanding of this.
The longer I've been doing this, the more my understanding grows.
Okay.
Yes.
Well, I'm glad to know we have someone with some experience here.
A lot of it.
Wonderful.
All right.
Do you want to start your
Sure.
presentation?
First slide. Okay, second slide. When we work with people who work for the city and county and the state, the first thing we try to get them to do is to have a generalized understanding of what their retirement benefits are. The reason that's important is because the employer world is structured is that it's all siloed. One side you have the employee retirement system, which is the pension. Then you have employer union trust fund, which is the medical plan. Mm-hmm. And then you have the employer voluntary plans. Many people call it deferred comp, right? So you have these three benefits that are there. So it's important for people who work for the city, county, and the state to have an understanding about how these things are structured, because this is their retirement system. Mm-hmm. So it's important. Once they've had that generalized understanding of things, on our side, what we recommend is that they have an ERS estimate done of their pension, mm-hmm. because that's the groundwork in terms of their benefits. So that's something that we do regularly. People can go online to the ERS website, ershawaii.gov, and the calculator is there. So they can go there and they can see. If you think in parallel terms, on one side you have Social Security, mm-hmm. all right? The other side you have your pension. You have to understand how Social Security works in order to use it properly. The same thing with the state retirement system and the pension side. So where we begin is by telling the member, please go have an estimate done. We do that for them.
Can I ask you, Herb?
Yes.
The reason you recommend that is it because some people may think they're ready to retire because they have years of service, but maybe they can't survive on that sort of income? Is that why you recommend it?
That's one very important reason. And as people get closer to retirement, there's a tendency for people to think, well, I think I'm going to get this, or I think I'm going to get that. The reality is that there are different pension plans that are out there, mm-hmm. that the city and the counties have, right? You're in one of them, so it's important to understand which one you're in, what the rules are for that one, right? And basically tell people, focus on your retirement plan, your pension plan. What other friends and neighbors may have, it's not germane, because you're going to choose yours. And of those options that I have, you're going to choose one of those options. And when the state starts to pay that money out to you, they don't go back and change. Mm-hmm. I have not heard of a situation where after someone has received their pension, that the state will go back and change it. Mm-hmm. So that's why for us, it's establishing the basis of what they're going to be getting when they retire. And from that point on, they can begin to become more clear on what their financial situation is going to be. But the interesting thing is this: from far away, when they're 10 years, 15 years out, they want to know about their pension. When they get right up to it and they're going to retire, they want to know about the medical. Mm-hmm. And that's because as they age, as they get older, they begin to realize, you know what? The medical is really important. If I don't have medical, I'm going to have a lot of difficulty when I'm older. Mm-hmm. So the medical grows in prominence as they get older. And particularly for the state system, all right, they will transition to Medicare. Mm-hmm. So they have to be aware not only of the pension plan. When they're working, they have to understand the state's medical plans that are available. But when they retire, they have to understand about how Medicare works. This is a schematic that we use to kind of describe what things kind of look like. Now, everything above the blue, right, that's the stuff that most people can see. It's above ground. So if you think of this as like a pyramid, the blue base is the part above ground that people can see. They know about the savings plans that people can have. They know about the ERS, the state retirement system, or employer union trust fund, the medical, or the deferred comp at the very top. But the part below the ground is actually what holds everything up. The most important thing, and this is where the unions play a really important role, is the very bottom of that pyramid, the jobs.
Now, for our viewers at home, you said ERS. What does that stand for?
Employee Retirement System, and EUTF is Employer Union Trust Fund. ERS is the pension, EUTF is the medical. Those are the two. And they're actually in the same building. They're in different floors.
Where are they?
They're on Merchant Street.
Oh, okay.
And the interesting thing is that the lead organization is ERS. When you retire first by going to IRS and submitting your retirement. Once they have you all processed and ready to go, you take that information to the medical side where the medical plan is, and then they process you. But it starts with ERS, the State Employee Retirement System.
Can it be done online?
You cannot do it online.
You got to actually go in.
No, you have to submit the paperwork.
Oh, at work.
You have to submit the paperwork either by mail or hand deliver. All right, they receive that, they log it in, and then they start the process.
Okay.
Okay. Next. Yeah, the very basics, the very foundational piece of all retirement planning is their job. One of the things that's really important is the value of the 40 quarters when people work. You have to have 40 quarters of work in order to qualify for Social Security and Medicare. If you don't have it, you don't have Social Security, you don't have Medicare. So one of the concerns I have with the younger generation that is out there bouncing from job to job, and they're involved in the gig economy is, do they have the 40 quarters? Because if they have the 40 quarters where they're contributing to the system, they're going to have Social Security.
So when you say 40 quarters, you mean 40 quarters of a year, like 3 months?
40 quarters would be 10 years.
10 years.
40 quarters of work. It doesn't
Cumulatively.
Cumulatively, it doesn't have to be 10 consecutive years. Okay, but you have to have 40 quarters in order to qualify for Social Security and for Medicare. Without the 40 quarters, then when you get to the point of retirement, I don't know, maybe you don't get Social Security, maybe you don't get Medicare.
So if I work 10 days and then decide, I don't like this job, and then go somewhere else, maybe I have 3 months in between, does that 10 days still count towards those quarters?
I don't know, because those are administrative rules.
Okay.
And those rules change. So when they say 40 quarters, what I try to suggest to people is do them all. Do them all. Qualify for it. Go online and look at your Social Security statement. See. One of the mistakes people make on Social Security is they look at it and they go, okay, I can start at 62. Okay, that's the earliest. My full retirement is age 66 in 7 months, and then age 70. And they see that these numbers there, and as you work longer, the numbers get bigger. But one of the characteristics of Social Security is this. When they tell you, okay, that your full retirement is at this point and this is what you're going to get, that presumes that you're in the system continuously making the same amount of money. If you drop out of the system and you don't put money in, that projection goes down. Same thing when they project out and say your Social Security benefit's going to be this and that. That's not a promise. That's an assumption based upon you staying in the system and contributing. When you take a walk away from that, that projection drops. So that's why what I suggest as a practitioner is don't just go in and say, I'm going to get this. No, go back and check.
Yeah.
Because if you decide that you're going to walk away, next. Well, let me go back on the question of the jobs. One of the things that I think is really important is the importance of unions. What unions do. They are essential to help people find a job that they can have, a living wage, and protect the benefits that people need for their retirement. If we leave it to just, good fortune or our luck, that's wonderful. But the value of the unions is that's what their job is there to do, is to protect that. In my experience, unions are very important.
Well, I'd have to agree with you there, is that, most of us aren't comfortable with sitting across the table from our employer and negotiating
Yes.
on our own
behalf.
behalf.
Correct.
So unions definitely do serve a purpose.
Yes, they do. And I say that having never been in a union job. My job was always private industry, but I see the value in what they do.
But they are behind all of our labor laws,
They
definitely.
are absolutely. So to me, they're essential to the long-term success of people in what they do. Next. Next slide. Okay, the part that is above ground, like we described, the employer in the employee retirement system pension, the medical plans like Medicare, and the employer created savings program. Right. these are the three things. Interestingly, pensions are pretty much gone from private industry. Very few companies have them anymore because there actually are debts carried forward by the employer. Even though the person is gone, the company still has to make enough money to take care of what it's doing now and the obligation it has to the retired employee. Now, in many cases, if you have a 401k plan, right, is that you'll have the plan is there and you work for the company now. They open up the plan for you. They'll have one portion of it where you're contributing your own money. That's the employee portion. And then over here, you have another portion, the employer match. The employer match conceptually replaces the pension. The employer match section is what the employer is giving to you. When you have a 401k plan, what's interesting is that these two dollar figures, they should never be commingled. Because if you take them and you put them together in one, what happens is you lose the benefit of having a segregated pension retirement section. In the state of Hawaii, pension payments are taxable for federal income tax, but not state. So if you receive a pension, like from the state of Hawaii, right, your pension is taxable for federal income tax, but not state of Hawaii income tax. The contribution made, as I understand the tax law, the contribution made to a match falls into that category.
By private employers.
By private employers. Okay. So that's why pensions are important, and that simple thing on the 401k plan, one of the mistakes I've seen people make is when they retire, they take them and put them all in one pot. Then what happens there is they lose the benefit of that. And that tax break for state income tax, that's only a state law. So if you decide to move away to a state where they tax your pension, they will tax your Hawaii pension because you moved to a state that does that. Because I've had clients come back and go, they're taxing my pension. I said, I told you that. Why are they doing that? Because you're there and they can. But I'm from Hawaii. I said, you have what driver's license? The state. Where, you bought a place, yeah? You're paying taxes on your property, yeah? For filing state tax return, yeah? You're citizen of that state. Oh, I wanted
Gotta
to
follow those laws.
You follow those laws.
Yeah.
It's unfortunate.
That is. None of
Yeah.
us like taxes.
Yeah. Next. Oh, okay. On the state pension, there are different pension plans. I'm not going to spend a lot of time explaining them, but generally think of it like this. When you join the state, city, or county, when you become a member of the state retirement system, right, you get on one bus. That bus is the pension plan that you have at that point. The one that they have today is hybrid tier 2. Okay, the one that was there before was hybrid tier 1, before it's non-contributory and all the rest. Okay, the pension plan you have is the active pension plan at the time of hire, right? There is no other plan that you can go to except the one that's active at that time. You cannot say, oh, I don't like this bus, I like the one behind. No, this is your bus, get on the bus, right? What happens then is that pension plan is the one that you are part of. That's where having the pension having the pension estimate becomes really valuable, because this is basically the route your bus is going to take. Okay, you need to know all of this. So that's why we start with that. The plan that's there today, hybrid tier 2 for general employees. But some employees fall under different plans simply because of their occupation. Firefighters, policemen,
Is it 20 years and out?
judges. And some of them have a number of years and out. Okay? So the pension plan, there's a general one for people when they join up, right? But then certain professions have their own plan. Okay? So that's why from where we sit, it's important for the person to know, which bus are you on? I don't know, just get on a bus. Hope you like where you're going.
It's changed over the years because of legislation.
Yeah. It changes periodically. The plan that is there today, hybrid tier 2, generally it's this. high five. So when they figure out your pension, they're looking at the 5 highest years that you worked. Doesn't have to be consecutive, right? And it doesn't have to be January to December, but it's 12 discrete sets of months. Okay, 12 months in 5 intervals. That's what they use to calculate that. For most people, it's towards the end of their career, right? Sometimes it's the beginning, if later in their career that they say they're going to cut back from work. So they have high 5, right?
So when you say highest years, you mean highest grossing years?
Yes, correct.
Okay.
Correct. The high 5 is there. The other part that's part of hybrid tier 2 is that there's a mandatory contribution that the employee makes. Not only is the state putting money in, but the employee does as well. The employee's match for the general employee is 8%. So they have to put 8%. One of the things as a practitioner I will ask is, what plan are you on? And I go, oh, I started in 2014. Okay, you're hybrid tier 2. And it's, what is your big issue? Oh, I got to save money. I said, you're already putting away 8%. And I go, I didn't know that. Go look at your pay stub. That money that's coming out is going into the state retirement system for you.
Do you make that election, or they make that
It's
election
mandatory.
for you? It's a mandatory.
It's mandatory.
Okay, contribution. Okay.
It's a mandatory contribution. Okay, you get to choose to say yes or work someplace else.
So you can
Sorry.
Can you choose to contribute more than
No.
8%? Oh, that is mandatory 8%. That's one size fits all.
That's
Okay.
correct. Now, what happens there is this, and people say, well, you know, I should be putting money away. If you can, great. But what we want people to do it, and this is why the estimate is important. Once you understand how the system is working, you can make informed decisions for yourself. If you have only $100 left at the end of the month, and you think, okay, should I save it, put it into deferred comp, or should I do something else or do something else? Well, if we understand that we're already saving, right, then maybe we don't need to worry ourselves about the saving issue. Maybe we should look and say, okay, maybe I should cut down my debt. Maybe I should put that against my credit cards. Okay, or I should do something else over here, right? Now, let me explain a bit. When I say that the money is set aside in the state retirement system, it only goes to you or your beneficiary, because you're putting money in. If you died and you never retired, you just died, your family gets that money back, plus all the interest. If you retire, right, and that money is now coming out, the first money they pay you under the maximum option is a refund of your money that you contributed. You get your money back first, okay? If you decide to take a refund, all right, so your monthly payout is lower, but you take all the money back out. That money coming back out is the money you put in plus the savings or plus the interest that it has earned, okay? If you died and you haven't received your money back, the state refunds that to your family. So this is a very fair system. You're putting money away, it's yours. It's not going to go to anybody except you or your family.
Sounds like several options you have for when you get to that point
Correct.
of retirement.
Correct.
Well, we have only a couple minutes left.
Oh, we should wrap up.
So I'm wondering, is there anything that we really want to convey to our viewers at home before we, wrap up?
Wrap
here?
up?
Yeah.
What should they do? If they're going to make a decision about retirement, they should talk to someone who's really knowledgeable about this. Call ERS for help. They're very, very good. They're very, very gracious.
I understand you folks at Windward Financial also do some estimates. You can do estimates. Is this
All the time.
free of charge?
We do
Is
we do
something-
free ERS estimates all the time, but they can do that on their own. They can go online and do that, and we're done.
No, we're not done.
Oh, I thought we
no,
were
I'm
done.
just kidding.
Is that
Wait, I get to say thank you, aloha. I just want to thank everyone at home for joining us. Herb, thank you so much for your presentation today.
You're welcome.
It was very informative as always. And with that, I want to say aloha and a hui ho. We look forward to seeing you next time.
Bye bye.